What's happening, Saints fans? Welcome into another edition of Saints Now by Chat Sports. As always, I am your host, Trizzy Trace Girouard. Thank you so much for tuning in, no matter where you are or how you're watching. We always appreciate the Who Dat Nation for making us a part of their day. In today's show, we got a double dose of mock drafts. We got some major draft rumors coming out from ESPN's Mel Kiper and NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah, two NFL draft analysts. Mel Kiper, some people respect him, some people don't, but he is a guy who is in the mock draft game, and we're going to dive into what he had for the Saints first. We're going to revisit the recent mock drafts that he's had. The first one, he had Will Johnson taking a cornerback. Second, they had Tyler Warren at tight end. The third one, we're going to reveal that here in just one moment. I don't know if you're going to like it. I don't know if you're going to hate it, but it's going to be very intriguing nonetheless. Really quick, let's get an update on our 2025 sub battle. We're still winning. We started off slow. We picked up some steam, and now we're on top of the NFC South sub battle here at Chat Sports, but let's keep piling on. Can we get 70 subscribers on this video? Make this number 2,800. That would be absolutely electric. Let's bury the Falcons today, channel. Hit that sub button if you're a diehard Saint fan. What am I talking about? Today's mock drafts. ESPN Mel Kiper, the first pick that he had him take. It's one round draft. So we'll go Mel Kiper, and then we'll talk to Daniel Jeremiah later. Jaxson Dart, the quarterback out of Ole Miss. And first things first, I just got to say that is interesting to say the least. Feels a little rich at number 9 overall, but let's see Mel defend himself here. Here's a surprise pick, and I know the Saints just restructured Derek Carr's contract to tie him to the team for at least one more season, but what happens after that season? New coach Kellen Moore might want a young quarterback to work with and develop over the course of 2025, before turning the offense over to him in 2026. I'm hearing more and more first-round buzz on Dart, and New Orleans seems like a good fit. He wouldn't be forced to play right now and could learn behind Derek Carr. This team still has a lot of roster-building decisions to make, but getting the quarterback of the future now does make some sense. I just feel like Dart at 9 is just way, way too early. I feel like you can get him in round 2. Like, I don't know why there's this urge every single year for making quarterbacks who aren't top prospects seem to be top prospects. I mean, I'm old enough to remember just a couple of years ago when Mel Kiper was saying that Malik Willis would go number 1, number 2, number 3. Like, no, that's not going to happen. It just, like, I don't hate Jaxson Dart as a player. I like him as a prospect. I think that he would be a good fit, and I think that he brought up some good points, though, in the sense of Derek Carr is restructured. He's here for a year. That is 100% true. The fact that there isn't a succession plan in place, that is also true. We haven't seen enough from Spencer Rattler. Maybe that's not, I said Clint Kubiak. Maybe that's not Kellen Moore's guy. So we'll have to see what happens here. But I do think Rattler does have something to at least work for, and he at least has something that you can try and develop. He has some skills, but we'll have to see what happens. Either way, there is realistically no ties from Kellen Moore to Spencer Rattler or Derek Carr outside of the financial ties to Carr, because Kellen Moore is not the guy who drafted Spencer Rattler. Clint Kubiak and Dennis Allen did. So we'll have to see what happens in terms of the quarterback. But really quick, I want to hear you guys grade the pick. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I mean, I would probably say a C-. I like the only reason it's not a D or F is because I do like Jaxson Dart as a prospect. We're going to dive into some analytics, and we're going to dive into some I almost said tape. The draft profile. We're going to dive into his draft profile here in a moment. Grade the pick, though. I do think he's a good player. I don't like it at number 9, though, so get in the comment section. Jaxson Dart, last season, he was very, very efficient for Ole Miss. He was a big reason why they were so successful. And, you know, he's a guy who does have the ability to beat you in the air, but he also has an underrated ability on the ground as a rusher. And one thing about Jaxson Dart I like is the development year over year. He improved each season throughout his college football career, and Lane Kiffin did some really good things with him, and I think that Lane Kiffin is a good college football coach, and I think that Jaxson Dart is a good football player. I'm just going to keep going back to this. I like Jaxson Dart. I really do, and I would not be upset if the Saints ended up taking him. He's a big quarterback. He does have mobility, and he does have the ability to run, but I just don't like it at number 9 overall. And, you know, I was just really puzzled because on the board at number 9, Ted McMillan was there, and he fell to number 20 overall. Like, I just don't think that makes any sense. I think that that's a player that the New Orleans Saints would end up taking, at least if I was in the draft room. I feel like that's a bigger position of need, and it's, the guy who's going to make an impact right away because the Saints are operating to win now. I will say this, when it comes to Kellen Moore, if he wants his guy, Mickey Loomis is going to find a way to get him his guy. If Kellen Moore wants Cam Moore, I don't think that's really in the cards. Mickey Loomis might try and find a way. If Shador's the guy, they're going to find a way. Jaxson Dart's the guy, they're going to find a way. Jalen Milroe, they're going to find a way. Tyler Shuck, they're going to find a way. Doesn't matter who it is. If Kellen Moore wants his guy, they're going to find a way to make it happen. And I will give credit to Mickey Loomis. He is a GM who is an aggressive GM in terms of pursuing trades, overspending, and over-offering on trades. But, if they want their guy, they're going to go and get him. And that's the truth. Now, we're going to show you some clips from the NFL Combine. Jaxson Dart described what it was like playing for Lane Kiffin, and I want you to listen to it because a lot of the things around what Jaxson Dart is saying is very interesting in terms of how Kellen Moore might be able to have an impact on Jaxson Dart. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, Coach Kiff was great. Not only was he a great coach on the field, but I could say he's one of my best friends off the field. So I knew what I was going into with him, and the quarterbacks that he's coached at a really high level. And a lot of them had different skill sets. So him being able to form an offense and build it around their strengths was something that was big for me going into it. And he was great for my development.
So one thing that really stuck out to me about that was the fact that he said that, other quarterbacks that Coach Kiffin has, worked with had different skill sets. And he was able to find a way to play into Jaxson Dart's strengths. Kiffin was able to build his offense around Jaxson Dart to the strength of his players on the receiving corps and in the running back room. And, if you ask me, that sounds very similar to what we hear about Kellen Moore from his former players, from other coaches he's worked with. And that's kind of what the big hype has been around him is he can work with the talent he has and he can maximize that talent and he knows how to work with them. So, I'm just going to go back to it. The question that lies is, who is Kellen Moore's guy? Is it Jaxson Dart? Because if it is, maybe at number 9 overall, that is the pick that is made. But if it's not, and he's like, you know what, I'm willing to wait. I like somebody maybe next year in the draft, or maybe there's a free agent or a trade target we can go out and get later on. That's who I want. That's also an option as well. So if Kellen Moore wants his guy, they're going to go and get his guy because Derek Carr is obviously not Kellen Moore's long-term option. So I want you to answer this question for me. There's a lot of positions in need for the New Orleans Saints. What do you think is the biggest one? Who should they draft in round 1? What position is more so what I'm asking? I want you to sound off in the comment section. And, if you do have a very passionate take, let me know exactly who you want that to be. Now, coming up, we're going to get into Daniel Jeremiah's selection for round 1 of the New Orleans Saints 2025 NFL mock draft. Obviously, Mel Kiper's pick, very intriguing. We'll see what NFL Network had to say here in just a moment. Give you a hint. It's an SEC player on the defensive side of the ball. Really quick, if you want to get a Saints jersey for this season or Darty season or wearing around New Orleans, get yours right now. Chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. The link is in the comments and description of this video. They're Nike jerseys. They're 100% authentic. They're very, very nice quality stuff. So if you want to get yours, use the link in the comments and description. You got former players, you got current players, and then soon we'll have future players on there as well for the picks that were made in this draft, as well as the free agency additions like Justin Reed and Devon Gottschall. So if you want to get your new jersey, chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. Hit the link in the comments description of this video. All shapes, all sizes, all colors. Get yours today. Daniel Jeremiah had the New Orleans Saints select Jihaad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama. And look, it's the same thing with Jaxson Dart. I don't dislike him as a player. I think that he is a phenomenal football player. I think that he is a really good football player. That being said, I think that number 9 is a little rich. So here's what Daniel Jeremiah had to say. Jihaad Campbell has the versatility to be a major weapon for a creative defensive coordinator like Brandon Staley. And I'll say this. I think that he could be very effective with Jihaad Campbell. I like the option of Brandon Staley getting another great linebacker. I think linebacker is an underrated need for the New Orleans Saints. But I think that the Saints need to get not only a young player, but I also think that they could benefit from having a guy who's still, not an old veteran, but a guy who has some experience, a guy who has some run. And this doesn't mean Jihaad Campbell's a bad player. The production he had in terms of coverage was pretty solid. He allowed 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 pass breakups, and an interception. And on top of that, He was really, really impactful for Alabama, logging over 100 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and of course, 1 fumble recovery in 13 games played. So, the good with Jihaad Campbell, he led Alabama in tackles for loss, sacks, and forced fumbles. Those are really good metrics. Those are important metrics, especially for a linebacker. I love the fact that he produced highly in those categories. Also, he has over 30 coverage stops, and if you don't know what that means, that is a PFF stat defined as an offensive gain on a play that is kept to less than 40% of the line to gain on first down, less than 50% on second down, and without a first down or touchdown on third or fourth down. So 30 coverage stops, most in the NCAA, really good stuff there. And then a very impressive 5.9 missed tackle rate. I feel like tackling has been a problem for the Saints over the past couple seasons, especially when it comes to stopping the run and tackling guys in open space. And he's also a freaky athlete. I mean, look at his relative athletic score. Shout out to Jihaad Campbell. He absolutely showed out. His 40-yard dash, very impressive. A relative athletic score of almost 10. I mean, that's damn near perfect. 9.87 is very, very impressive. And, the athleticism is clearly there. The production is clearly there. But if we also want to take a look at a comparison in the National Football League now, he is a very similar size profile to Fred Warner, one of the best linebackers in the National Football League. The height, damn near the same. The weight, 1 pound off. The arm length, Jihaad Campbell's actually got more. And he was a little bit faster, actually almost over a whole 0.1 second, tenth of a second faster than Fred Warner. So, I mean, I will say this. Jihaad Campbell is a top linebacker in this class. There's no question about it. But again, it just feels early for number 9. Linebacker is not the biggest need for the New Orleans Saints. It's an underrated need, but it's not the biggest need. And when you have a top 10 selection, and you have prime draft capital, you have over 4 picks in the top 100, the top 150. You can do some damage when it comes to making selections. You actually have 4 in the top 100. Yeah, you have 2 third-round picks and 2 fourth-round picks. You have a lot of selections to make some good impact players and bring those guys in. Let's just go back to what was on the board. Again, Tet McMillan was there. Why would you pass up on him for Jihaad Campbell? I don't hate Jihaad Campbell as a player or a prospect. I love that player. I love that selection. If it was like trade back and get him at 20 or something, I would absolutely love that. But when you have all of these guys here, I think all of these would be a better pick for the New Orleans Saints. Will Johnson, the best cornerback, I said outside linebacker, the best outside cornerback in the draft. Will Campbell, the best offensive tackle. Tet McMillan, the number 1 wide receiver and the number 1 tight end. Arguably one of the best offensive weapons were on the board for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, I just still go back to I would have taken Tet, maybe Tyler Warren in this situation, but probably Tet McMillan. So, I didn't love these mock drafts, but if you had to pick one of these, which one would you go with? Jaxson Dart or Jihaad Campbell? Just type their initials in the comment section. Personally, I don't know what I would do, Lopez. Maybe I would go Jaxson Dart just to justify it as him being his guy and whatnot, and it's quarterback, top 10 pick. And, in a few years, if he turns out to be a stud, then nobody's really going to say a word about that selection. But I just think that this is a really tough set of mock drafts for the Saints. And final thoughts. I keep saying this, and my stance won't change until a move is made to change that stance. I want to address the offense in round 1. Specifically, I'd like to add an offensive weapon. Sure, offensive lineman sounds great, but I would really like to add a wide receiver or a tight end like Tyler Warren, specifically Tyler Warren, or maybe an Ashton Jeanty. I just want to raise the overall skill level of the Saints offense and address the other needs in round 2, round 3, round 4. You have so many selections in those 3 rounds and in those 4 rounds to really add to the roster and add some talent to build around for the long-term future. I just think when you have a lot of high-end talent on the board, and it could fall the way where you have your option of Tet McMillan, Ashton Jeanty, and Tyler Warren, you get to your pick of the litter, and I just think that that's the best way to go for the New Orleans Saints. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Do you like my takes? Do you disagree with my takes? Do you enjoy the content? Give us some feedback down below, and do not forget to subscribe. As always, we appreciate the Who Dat Nation for tuning in. Almost a 15-minute video. We got you 2 draft pieces of content in less than 15 minutes, so I think it's a reason to subscribe. We appreciate you, Who Dat Nation. Y'all stay golden, and we'll see you next time.